The Obi-Wan Kenobi series has been over for a while now. A question I've seen pop up a lot surrounded the music and the themes used, or rather themes that weren't used until the very end or weren't used at all. I will admit I'm one of the people that feels that way. The series is very strongly connected to the 6 movies that come before and after it, and I think using some familiar musical cues would have only strengthened that connection. Even though I feel that way and wish it were different, I do think there was a choice behind not including them, especially when it comes to Duel of the Fates. I do want to point out the 3 themes we did hear in the final episode: the Force theme, Princess Leia's theme, and the Imperial March. Why did we save all 3 of those original trilogy themes for the final episode? It's because Obi-Wan, Leia, and Vader were all developing and growing and changing into the characters we know from the original trilogy. At the start of the series, Obi-Wan is not the Jedi Master we're used to seeing. He is not connected with the Force, and so it makes sense that we wouldn't be hearing the Force theme until he has reconnected with it, and the Force theme was originally conceived as Ben Kenobi's theme when John Williams was writing music for A New Hope. So to me, we now have the series theme, which represents Obi-Wan at that point in his life, the more broken version, and then it shifts into the Force theme, what we would consider the true Kenobi theme at the end of the series. Leia and Vader are similar. Leia at the start of the series is a kid, as she should be, but her experiences with Obi-Wan and Tala especially transform her into the leader and the fighter we meet in A New Hope. She finds her purpose, and she chooses to make something more out of her role as princess and eventually politician, just as her mother and father suggest in the first episode. And she gets some closure from Obi-Wan about her biological parents, and she realizes she already has the family she needs. At the end of her journey in the series, we finally hear the Princess Leia theme we recognize because she herself has become that character. And then we get to Vader. Throughout this series, and presumably for the last 10 years, he has been obsessed with finding Kenobi. Through books and comics and games, we've seen that he also keeps going back to this idea that he can somehow resurrect Padme. His connection to Padme and Obi-Wan are both signs that Anakin is still buried in that suit somewhere. In his final scene, he is still yelling about finding Kenobi, and the Emperor tells him to cut it out. Basically puts his boot down on Anakin's feelings, and Darth Vader responds in kind. He says Kenobi means nothing. Just like when we occasionally hear the Imperial March pop up in the Clone Wars, this scene is Vader taking another step in burying Anakin Skywalker and all the things that he cares about so he can more fully embrace the dark side. Okay, so those are all the original trilogy themes and why I think they didn't appear until the final episode. It's because the characters they represented hadn't fully developed until the final episode. But what about Duel of the Fates? That song is amazing, and it already existed far earlier. Again, I would have loved to hear Duel of the Fates again, but I do think there's a solid reason for not including it. Duel of the Fates means something very specific. In the gallery for Season 1 of The Mandalorian, Dave Filoni talks about how the duel between Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is a fight for Anakin's future. His fate is in the balance. Basically, if Qui-Gon lived, Anakin would have had the master he needed, but Qui-Gon dies and Anakin's fate is altered. We hear Duel of the Fates again when he's searching for his mother on Tatooine in Attack of the Clones, and again his fate is up in the air. I think the implication is that if he saves Shmi, he doesn't fall to the dark side when Padme's life is threatened. But Shmi does die, and so he feels this intense need to become all-powerful to keep those he loves safe. So Duel of the Fates is used when Anakin's fate can be changed, and I don't think that was ever up for debate in Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think Obi-Wan ever would have been able to reach Vader. There's evidence that Anakin is still buried deep down, like I said, but I don't think Kenobi ever got close to altering his fate. So neither of their 2 lightsaber duels were duels of fate, so to speak. Now, if they had chosen to play Duel of Fates in the series, I absolutely would not have complained, but that's why I think the song was ultimately not included. Let me know what you think of my reasoning in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.